If you saw my video of me talking about all my unfinished whips from 2023, then you've already heard me talk about this a little bit. Last year I went to a fundraising event at a local yarn store and I won a raffle prize of a bunch of really nice Rowan cotton yarns. I only got about 50 grams of each skein and they were all different really fun colors, so I decided to make granny squares out of them with the hope of making a granny square tank top for spring. This was, like I said, months ago, and now spring is here, so I really want to make this top. And part of the reason that I had been putting this project off for so long was that I couldn't find the hook that I was using on this project, but I literally just found it this morning, so I have nothing else going on today for the first time in forever, so I'm just gonna crank this out. This is my very rough sketch of the kind of vision that I have for this top. This is some of the Pinterest inspo that I'm working off of. So I don't have too specific of an idea of what I want to do, but it doesn't really matter because first things first, I have to still weave in a bunch of ends on these granny squares. I like never weave in as I go, which I need to stop doing. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to take my measurements again because I haven't done that in a hot second, and then I'm going to measure these so that I know exactly how many I need, and then I'm going to weave in the ends. But that should take me a hot second, so I'm going to go ahead and start with that this morning. The thing that always sucks about just figuring out patterns as you go is now this part, this is just math. Okay, so basically I just made this whole design to scale using the measurements of these squares and what I want the top to look like. I have 19 squares. I thought I had so many more than that. And I need 24 and 2 half squares. So, okay, this may not be a one-day project because I need to do 5 more squares and weave in all these ends. And it's already 11 o'clock. So I'm gonna find a movie to watch, and I'm going to go grab my yarn and make sure I don't have any extra squares laying around in my whip basket. I feel like I made so many more. So I'm gonna double check that, and I'm gonna get started. Okay, that took a lot longer than expected, but now I have all the squares I need, and I'm going to go to the park because it's stunning out today. I'm gonna start weaving in the ends, and depending on how long that takes, I might start assembling. Okay, it is 6:30, and I just now finished crocheting all the squares and weaving all the ends in. So I'm gonna spend the rest of the night focusing on assembling them. They all have different color borders, so I was originally thinking I would do the invisible seam join method, just so that all the different colors popped and everything. But I actually think I want you to be able to see some amount of a border between the squares. A few months ago, when I was originally working on this project, I picked up a skein of this yarn at Michael's. I don't think 50 grams like this is gonna be enough for what I'm thinking, but I was looking up some different border join methods on Pinterest, and I think I wanna do the slip stitch method, which means that this will show against all this. I'm gonna join them using this, and then my thought was that there would also be like, this color would both join them and be the straps and the border and like the pom-poms that I wanna do at the bottom and stuff. So I think basically tonight I'm just gonna see how far I can get with this 50-gram skein. This joining method is actually turning out to be super quick, and as I'm doing it, I'm kind of wondering, I don't know, I like this color, I like how it looks. I really like the side that's like technically supposed to be the wrong side. I think I have a really cool opportunity to do a really high contrast color and make the seaming together a really eye-catching part of this top. I think I might have some blues that'll work for this. I'm not really sure. I don't know if I have any other yarns that are this weight. That's the problem. I'm gonna play around and see what I have. So that's where I'm at. I'll check in with you guys after I play around. Okay, I think I figured this out. I have a ton of blue thread yarn. It's just Aunt Lydia's Fashion 3 cotton crochet thread. I got a bunch of this stuff like last year when I was making a top out of this, and then I made a bunch of other stuff out of this thread because I just was obsessed with the color for a hot second. But for the past few months, it's just kind of been sitting in my collection. And I think it's gonna be a really nice accent for all these colors. I did one row with this blue, and I think I'm gonna go with this. I really like the way that it looks when the wrong side is up and you can see the blue, but I also don't mind the way that it looks when the blue is invisible and it just kind of pokes through every now and then. So I'm just gonna do the whole thing and then kind of decide what direction I want to go to from there. Okay, I am in pajamas right now. Let's ignore that. Basically, yesterday I spent the day sewing all the squares together. I wrapped it around me to see how it was fitting so I would know before I sealed it up. And I realized that I actually have too many squares on the top. You know, it's kind of hard to tell with the hoodie on, but I also I can't show you this with nothing under it because this isn't that kind of channel. So basically, when they're all on, these little half squares that I made, they're actually extra. It would work if I wanted the top to sit here, but I don't, because like I would never wear a shirt this long. All of my pants, because I have such a long torso, all my pants are high-waisted. So every time I make tops for myself, I make them somewhat cropped. If I wear it like up here, like I want it to be and how I envisioned, I don't need these triangle squares, like they're just extra at this point. And actually what I need to do is I need less squares than I thought. So these two squares right here, they actually need to be triangles themselves. I definitely have a few options of how I could go about this. One of them being that I could take these two squares off and then just move these triangle pieces to replace them and then just like not have these squares be a thing. The problem with that is once I attach these triangles, I realized that they actually aren't true halves. So you can see they don't look at my nails. They don't actually go all the way up the side. This is largely because I don't have a lot of experience making half squares and I didn't really know what I was doing. So I actually think what I'm gonna do, I think I'm gonna sew these on this diagonal line and then I'm gonna cut them. That feels kind of crazy. I've sewn on crochet before. I may have sewn and then cut crochet. There's an actual term for what this is, by the way. There's like a word for it. Actually, let's look it up. What is the word when you sew knitting and then cut it? Steeking. Steeking. That's like a really hard word to say. I actually just learned this word the other night at a craft circle because someone was about to have to go home and do it. So I'm going to steek these. I have done that with knit before. Because I've been using a sewing machine for years, I'm pretty comfortable with doing it and like really reinforcing whatever it is I need to do. And generally when I do that, it's because in the end, the fit wasn't right. Like not the length, but like the actual like width of a piece wasn't right. And that's generally with the kind of constructions I tend to do, a lot harder to go back and fix once the garment's nearly finished. I made a vest a few months ago and I loved the fit of it in the end, but it was like way too big. I wanted it to be tight fitting. So I just sewed down the seams on the side and then I just cut it, and I've worn that a few times. I've washed it, it's like fine. You just have to be really careful about it. I am a little concerned about whether or not it's going to work with these squares. I have a game plan. I think I'm basically going to steek on the inside of the half that I need. So like if this is the half that I'm keeping, I'm gonna go just under all the spaces and stuff. I don't know. That's the game plan. If all else fails, I will still have these triangle pieces intact, and if these get completely destroyed, then I will just move these triangles to replace these squares, and I'll just make the height difference work. So that's where we're at. I'm just gonna go for it. I'm actually realizing I don't know if I'm confident about my choice of where to sew. No, I've got it. Alright, what's going on? Whoa, what happened? Maybe this won't work in the machine. Oh wow, it's the green color. Because this was like a variety bag of yarns, some of them are thinner than others, some of them are different fibers than others, I think. They all have some amount of cotton in them. I think that was like the underlying theme. Yeah, whatever's different about the green one it doesn't want to be sewn. That side's done. Let me try to do the other one again and just see. I don't sew often enough to like invest in my sewing stuff, and then when I do sew, I'm like, I really should invest in my sewing stuff more, but. So that's done. Let's freaking go. I can't imagine it's gonna be that scary. I sewed over this a bazillion times, so I'm just gonna do it, not worry about it, knowing I have the backup triangles. If I need them, let's just cut into this crochet. Okay, that actually was pretty painless and it worked. So slay. I think I just saved myself a bunch of time. I could be wrong, but I think normally with steeking, you're supposed to like hand sew with yarn. But because I have my machine, like you can see, I went over it so much that like, that is secure. Glad I did it that way. Excited to add the border. I'm gonna take a break and I don't know how much more I'm gonna work on this today, but at the very least, I'm glad I got that much done. Okay, so that last clip was over a week ago. Honestly, I just completely lost steam on this project. I started getting really scattered with all my different whips right now, and I was super motivated to finish this project last week because it had been so warm and I was going to the park a lot. But then almost as soon as I started filming that vlog, the weather turned cold again. So I just haven't really been wanting to make a very springy crop top, you know, it's just not what I've been wanting to work on. But I have decided that today is the day I am going to finish this, which is exactly what I said over a week ago now. So just to catch you up to speed, here's where I'm at now. The whole thing is like sewn together. It's a tube. There's a lot of ends that I still have to weave in, but it's in a pretty good spot. I also added the border to the top part. I haven't done the bottom yet. I'm just not sure exactly what kind of strap I want to do for the top. I don't know. I'm just trying to toy around with it. I did end up going down a hook size from what I was using for the granny squares for both the border and the straps, just because I want to make sure that the fabric that I'm making for the border and the strap is super dense, because I want to make sure I have a lot of support. So yeah, I don't have anything too specific in mind for what I'm going to do, but I am just going to continue this half double crochet moss stitch that I have going. I think the only way to figure out how I'm going to want this to go is honestly to try on as I go. So I'm just gonna get cracking on this. I really want to make a lot of progress on this today. I will be honest, I am not too crazy about this right now, which is also why I've been slow to work on it. I don't know if it's because I haven't blocked it yet and it's really lumpy, or if it's because of all the scraggly ends or what, but I'm just not really convinced on the fit of it for me, and I'm just having trouble picturing the finished object right now. So that's why I also just like need to get through this. So let's get started. By the way, it is pouring rain outside today. We're on a flood watch until late into the night, so this is the perfect day to be doing this. Okay, I fear this may be a disaster. I think what I'm realizing as I'm trying this on right now, I maybe should have just left the original design, like with 3 full squares up here. And I say that only because once we get right here, we're in a danger zone. I think a big part of the problem is the size of the top itself. I like the length, honestly. I thought that I made it too long. It's just way too big. I just had a thought. Oh my gosh, we're really getting into like garment construction here. I'm gonna attach this. I'm gonna like crochet it in. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add a border with decreases. And in doing that, I'll tighten up. Okay, wait. Oh my gosh, I can literally take out a whole row of granny squares. Okay. Take everything I just told you with a grain of salt. I have a feeling this whole shirt is about to change. Oh my gosh. This is crazy. I have never had this much trouble with a granny square project, but this is nuts. Basically what I'm doing right now is I'm frogging the strap that I just, oh my god, I can't even. I'm frogging the strap I just made because I need to frog the border I did because I made this too wide. That's fine. I mean, again, you work on something for long enough, you want it to be right. So no problem. This is what making is, you know? The taking it all apart will be quick. So, man, I need to stop saying that I can do these things in the day that I set out to do them, huh? Okay, this is what I had in mind. This is sickening. This is much more the fit that I was going for originally. Let me tell you guys what my light bulb idea was. I took out one of the columns of granny squares in the back because I know I'm gonna add decreases on the side and line this whole thing as like one solid piece. I was like, well dang, I can't really make a fastening on the neck, on the collar. But then here I'm gonna add hook and eye like bra clips, and I'm just gonna make it so that I can like put the shirt on and then tighten this. I think that that's gonna work. This is gonna stretch over time, getting like put on my head a bunch of times. So that's always kind of the bane of my existence, is relying on the neck part of a crochet halter to like keep the whole thing up. That's why so many of my pieces have stretched out. Holy crap, guys. I'm really excited about this now. I knew this was gonna happen. I knew I was gonna like this project again all of a sudden. But this is really freaking cute. I want to look in my sewing stash. I think I have some bra inserts. One thing that's tricky for me about crochet clothes is that they're often riddled with, you know, like spaces in between the stitches, which you don't really get in knit. And I'm not someone who likes to wear bras, honestly. So definitely with the way that this top works, I'm not going to be wearing a layer underneath. So I need to look and see if I'm able to insert just like little bra pads too, which will kind of add to the wearability of the garment and make this something that I actually wear. So this is exciting. Now that we've like figured out what the construction is and the sizing and stuff, now we can just focus on quality and details and stuff like that. So now we're in the fun home stretch part. Let's go. For now, at least, I think I'm actually done with the top. I'm pretty happy with it. I think my goal for the rest of the day, because I'm honestly getting kind of sick of working on this, I think my goal is to finish the bottom ribbing, or the bottom like border, I guess, and then add the snaps and then weave in the ends so that hopefully, which is finishing the whole thing, I'm realizing, okay. But I want to do that so that I can hopefully block it tonight. But it's already 4 p.m., so I don't know. Come on in. I tried this on and I just think I'm gonna wear it more if I actually end up taking off the bottom row of granny squares. I don't know what in my original calculations was so off. I do know I never accounted for ease, so I think that in putting the top on, it's just stretching more than I accounted for. But regardless, I just don't think I'm gonna wear it if it's really long. I think I would end up tucking it in a lot. And I'm loving the way that I constructed this top. Like, I added cups in so that I don't have to wear a bra with it. I did the clasps on the back. Like, I've just made this something that's a super high quality item that I could definitely see myself actually wearing when it gets really hot in the city this summer. That means there's a bit more work to do, but it's worth it in the end. We're at that point where it's like, I'm not just gonna not do something because I feel lazy. It's finally done! I'm so excited. I can officially say that I'm done with this top. At least 90% done, but we'll get to that in a second. I am so happy with how this came out. And I think I'm really proud of myself that I, along the way, made changes that made things take longer, but ultimately made me like this finished object even more. I'm really trying to work on not just settling for the first draft of something that I make, but actually like improving it and making it better, even if it takes longer, to make sure that I have something that I like in the end. A big example of this is the length of the top. Like, this is literally perfect. It makes it so that it goes right to my pant line. It's not too cropped, but I also don't need to tuck it in. I also played around a lot with the border and the neck and stuff like that, and I'm so happy I did. Before I get too ahead of myself though, I want to jump into things that I like about how this top turned out and things that I'm not crazy about. And we can kind of see what skills I learned in making this top too along the way. So I'm going to start with the things I'm not as crazy about, starting with the clasps in the back. I chose to do hook and eye fastenings for this top because I thought that that's what would make sense. I was picturing like bra tops and stuff like that when I made that decision. So I thought that would be a good call, but in practice what's happening is it's pulling at the band, and because of the granny squares and where I had to place the hooks in order to hide them, it just is creating this weird flap on the back. So that's why I said that this top is almost done. Eventually I will get snaps instead. I think that's gonna make this a lot better because I'll be able to place snaps right at the edge of the granny square, and then when I snap them in place, it'll lay flat. The reason that I'm not making that adjustment now is simply because I have spent a lot of money recently on crafting supplies, and this top as is totally wearable and like functional. So snaps aren't like that pricey or anything, but I'm just gonna hold off on letting myself go to a craft store until I absolutely need to pick that stuff up. So that's the first thing, and that's just more of an aesthetic problem. The next thing, I do have an issue with how I sewed the bra cups onto this top. We're gonna get to this in a second. I'm also about to tell you that I love this element of the top, but just if I have to be really nitpicky, because I really just do love this finished garment, I sewed the cups pretty tightly to the top when I did it on the inside. So you can see like on this cup, is YouTube gonna like let me show you this, right? They will. Anyway, there's like a little bit of like bunching here where there is no cup, and you can see like the squares are pretty warped. I was just kind of hoping that the cups would be only noticeable to me, and I think that they're going to be pretty noticeable to everyone. That is actually it for things that I don't like about this shirt. And one of them is completely fixable, and one of them I just don't care enough about to do anything about. So moving on to the things that I really like about this top, and there are many. I guess I'll just start with the thing I last ended with. I do love that I put bra cups in this top. I think that that's been a big reason in the past why I haven't actually reached for my crochet makes that often when I'm getting dressed, because I know I have to wear a bra with it, so I'm just like, I don't want to do that. So with this, I eliminated that problem, and I'm so happy I did. Like, throwing it on, this is how this looks. It's amazing, it's wearable. I'm gonna reach for this all the time in spring now. And making it so I don't have to wear a bra too just makes it so that the back halter moment is just really cute. So yeah, I love the bra cup element. That is definitely something that I want to implement in future projects. The other thing that I'm super happy about with this project is simply the yarn. I really love the quality of this yarn. As I believe I mentioned earlier in the video, this is all a variety of Rowan cotton yarns, except for the blue trim, that's a different brand. It's Aunt Lydia's cotton thread. The Rowan yarns are an amazing material. So there's a mix of different blends in here, so I can't speak to like specific ones necessarily, because I also didn't keep them straight, if I'm being honest. But they were really fun to crochet with. They were very smooth. Sometimes if you've ever worked with like kitchen cottons, they are really rough on your hands, and even though the finished object is really sturdy and looks great with crochet, the process of crocheting itself is not as fun always. But with this, it was super soft and just like it glided on my hook, and it made it really quick to crochet all these squares up. So I loved working with it, and I'm just obsessed with the vibrancy of these colors. One of the goals of this top was to add some more color to my spring wardrobe, and these colors are so vibrant, so they completely achieve that goal. And I love the way that these colors go together. This is so up my alley for spring. It's super soft and very comfortable to wear. I'm really excited to check out other stuff from this brand, because if these cotton yarns are this nice to work with and they feel this good in the finished object, I really want to try their, like, I don't know, other blends, like their animal fibers and stuff like that. So another thing that I really loved that I did was the choice to do the visible stitching to seam up the squares. That was something I was really torn about at first, and I'm just so happy I ended up going with it. I love having the blue border and then having the blue stitching. I think it just adds another pop of color to this top that's just so fun. And I love how the blue ended up being a really nice contrast. And also, just in terms of like logistics of stash busting, this used up so much of that blue thread that I had, and I had so much. Like, I had so much in my stash, so I'm really glad that I used that for this. It's also a very sturdy, if you guys have ever used the Aunt Lydia's crochet thread, like when you work it up, it doesn't really give a lot. So to use it for the straps and stuff was a really good call. They feel very like they're not going anywhere. The last thing I'll say is I'm so glad that I went with a pom-pom border. I worked on that really early in the morning yesterday, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be too crazy about it. I had a conversation with a friend recently, and we were talking about crochet garments, and we were saying that oftentimes we don't necessarily love the outcome of crochet garments because they feel very like boho chic aesthetic, which is a really cool aesthetic. It's just not mine. So we had that conversation like a few days ago as I was finishing this top up, and so I was like, okay, I want to keep that in mind actually, because I don't want to make a top that's not even my style. All that being said, I was really wanting to do the pom-pom trim. It was in my original sketch, and I was really excited about the idea of using it to add a fun little pop of color to the bottom. Anyway, all that being said, I love how it turned out. It is so fun. It added the perfect little pop of color, a nice little bit of texture. I don't know, like, come on, that's just so cute. And also in that vein, the pom-pom border was a new skill for me. So that's a very popular border in crochet projects, and it had just never come up for me. So learning how to do it just is good. It's just a new skill. And not for nothing, it's really fun to do. I don't know if you guys have ever done a crochet pom-pom border, but it's just a bunch of double crochet 5 together. So it's like that really satisfying feeling of doing a bunch of double crochets and then pulling them all through the loop. But yeah, I love the crochet pom-pom border. I think that's actually all for my thoughts on this top. In general though, I just have to say, I love how this turned out. I will definitely be wearing this. I'm really happy that I ended up doing these little finishing details like the bra cups, the border being thicker, the fastening in the back, things that just make this feel more like an actual wearable garment. I know me, and I know that those little things are gonna make me much more likely to wear this in the future. I also just wanna throw out there again that I'm like so happy with myself and proud of myself for not just settling for whatever was happening in the moment while I was making this top, but I actually like would evaluate whether or not I liked how it was working up, and then I would decide if I wanted to keep going with that or if I wanted to switch gears and try something new. That is really something that I'm trying to get better about in all my projects, especially with my more free-handed projects like this. And the extra bit of time just really pays off. So yeah. Thank you guys so much for tagging along with me on this journey. I hope that if nothing else, this video inspires you to look at those projects that have been sitting in your whip bin for 6-ish months and actually pull them out of that graveyard and finish them. Because if this top is any indication, it's worth it. You started that project because you wanted to make that thing, so make it. I also just hope that we can all take away from this video that patience is actually a virtue. What they say is true. Let's carry it forward into our spring makes this season. But yeah, I think that's all from me. If you're not already, make sure to subscribe. I don't necessarily post every week, but I do try to post 2 to 3 times a month. So if you subscribe, you'll make sure that you don't miss out on my newest upload. Even though I don't post over here as often, on my Instagram, I'm posting all the time. If I'm not posting on the grid daily, I am at least updating those stories with what's going on with my whips. My username on Instagram and TikTok is the same as it is here on YouTube. It's @_thedroppedstitch. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. This was so fun to make and so fun to share with you. I really liked making this project vlog, and I've done one in the past that I really enjoyed making. They're also really fun to edit, so if you guys are interested in seeing more stuff like this, just let me know. Make sure to drink your water, stretch your wrists, and please purl responsibly. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one. Bye!